What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Knicks versus Bulls post-game show. I am your host, Troy, and you could be on any stream in the world tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and I really do appreciate that. We're going to break down tonight's game, talk about everything that went wrong during tonight's game, what the Knicks didn't do right, what they tried to do but utterly could not do, and a lot of that had to do with Zach LaVine and Coby White and trying to be able to stop them, their penetration, and the way they were able to shoot the three. Don't get me wrong, because I'm absolutely going to go off. But before I get there, shout out to everybody who's in the chat gang, Knicks Nation. I see you guys. I appreciate you guys being part of this stream. If you guys could do me a favor, please go ahead and hit that like button, because when you do that, it helps this video get into the algorithm, and that way other Knicks fans, they can see it and they can also join the stream. And also, like I always do each and every stream, we are trying to reach the goal of 25,000 subscribers, and we could really use your support. If you enjoy daily Knicks content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because it could really support all the great content that we're creating for you. But without further ado, let's get into tonight's game and talk about how the Knicks dropped another game. Sometimes I don't even know how to talk about the post game. I don't even know how to speak about it, what words to use. But you know what? For tonight, I have a way to really open it. I'm disgusted. I am absolutely disgusted in what I have watched during the Bulls game tonight. Now, I'm not saying during stretches we didn't see good defense. We did. I'm not saying during stretches we didn't see good offense. We did. Jalen Brunson had 26 points in the first half, and then Karl-Anthony Towns had a 40-plus game, and we can't even enjoy it. Why? Because we allowed Coby White to shoot lights out from three. Why? Because we allowed Zach LaVine to go inside, dominate inside, penetrate and create, and allow him to have so many open other people, have so many open other players on his team get open from three, hit those open three-pointers, and then the cutting inside, finding people inside, getting to the line, getting contact. They were doing all of that, and they were taking advantage of the Knicks. And one thing we might have to give credit to, in the first half, the Knicks were leading, I believe, by 8 or 9 points against the Bulls by halftime. And then after halftime, which again was a little bit long because of Derrick Rose night. Shout out to Derrick Rose. I'm happy he was honored. He deserved to be honored. I got to give him credit. Shout out to him. He is a legend, not only with the Bulls, but also with New York. And when his jersey gets retired in the rafters next year, I am going to be happy for him. But when the halftime show happened, it extended it a little bit longer. That means everybody couldn't get on the floor at the same time. Now, I don't know if it was Derrick Rose's speech that motivated the Bulls, but there was a shift, a change going into that third quarter, and we saw it. It was like an avalanche. They scored 41 points. 41 points to 17 points for the Knicks. That was the game. They blew the game open. And as far as the Knicks tried, and we did, we tried to get back into the game. Karl-Anthony Towns gave you a 22-point quarter to try to help the Knicks get back into the game. And even though we did everything that we could, we tried to get back into the game. We tried to fight back. At that point, the same thing against OKC happened again. Tired legs, tired Knicks players, and then the worst case scenario happens. Karl-Anthony Towns grabs his knee because he comes down awkwardly on a play. He's running down the court. You can see it in his face. He is grimacing. He is in pain. I am screaming at the TV. Take him out. Take him out. He shouldn't be in the game. He should not be in there. And then a couple of plays later, he's standing there holding his knee. Can't move anymore. Can't even run up the court. He gets out of the game. By the way, he calls out of the game. He raises his hand, gets out of the game, checks out, and where does he go? Right to the locker room, limping off we have no status of where he's going to be for the next game we play on Monday. And that is scary because Towns is having an MVP year and we need him healthy and available. The way he left that game looks like he injured his knee very significantly. We're going to break down everything that happened during tonight's game, why the Knicks were so good in the first half, and how we let it all slide. How disgusting of a performance that we saw this Knicks team put on in that second half, specifically in that third quarter going into the fourth quarter. We're going to talk about all of that today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure you have notifications turned on. So anytime we drop new content, you get notified. And now, let's get started. The Knicks defense can't keep up with the Bulls. Cat injures his knee. That's right. I didn't stutter. Karl-Anthony Towns, who, by the way, had a phenomenal game. I am so upset, so disgusted that we can't talk about the all-star duo that is Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, because those two went off. They helped the Knicks stay in the game, and Karl-Anthony Towns by himself tried to drag the Knicks back into the game by giving you 40-plus points, another double-double. He is just putting up monster numbers, MVP-like numbers. But when you're getting blown out by the Bulls, and you know during some points of the game, you're not going to get back in the game because we're already losing. Why are the starters still in the game? Why are we playing them so many minutes still when we know we don't have a chance to get back into it? I respect this Knicks team trying to make sure they are impactful for each and every minute they are out there. But it's up to the coaching staff at some points in time to save our players from themselves. Of course, they're not going to ask to get out of the game. Why would they? They're competitors. They're never going to ask to get out. But as a coach, you see your team getting gassed. You see your team not having enough energy. What are you going to do? You're going to have to pull the plug at some point in time. You're going to have to pull them out. We didn't do that. We didn't do it soon enough. And then we saw Karl-Anthony Towns limp his way off to the locker room, and he did not look the same. And he looked like he injured that knee. He was holding it. He could not run on it. And when he went back to the locker room the entire way, he was limping off. You never want to see your all-star big man, the player that helped your offense get to near top 3 in the league, go down with injury. I am praying for Karl-Anthony Towns. I hope he's okay. I'm wishing him the best. And I hope come Monday, we get some more information about him and potentially that scary knee injury. But going to tonight's game, really? And I hate when I say this because I feel like I'm a broken record, but I'm sorry, guys. I have to say it. It was a tale of two halves yet again. In the first half, I thought that the Knicks were playing up to par with the Chicago Bulls. Our defense wasn't perfect, but it was a lot better than the defense you saw in the second half. And a lot of the defense that the Knicks had, in terms of problems the Knicks had, was the Bulls in transition. The Knicks defense, in terms of their transition defense, has been bad all season long. But against a Bulls team that likes to run, that likes to push the ball, that likes to take a lot of threes, the Knicks know the game plan. And if you didn't know the game plan, you learned it in the first quarter because I knew exactly what they were going to do. Whether it was Vooch, whether it was Zach LaVine, or whether it was Kobe White, they were going to penetrate, create, try to get to the line, get other players involved, or get wide open threes, or go straight to the basket each and every time. Push the ball up, either on a rebound or on a miss, or if they get a steal or some type of turnover, they're pushing the ball up and getting wide open threes. That's what Kobe White was doing all game long. And when we see the team stats and we break it down, you'll be able to see what the Knicks were doing and why we had such a good first half, but why we let it all go in that second half. And honestly, the aggression that we saw from Mikal Bridges, the aggression that we saw from Jalen Brunson in that first half, that first quarter and second quarter, we saw it. We saw them attacking the Bulls inside, attacking the rim, getting to the line. Mikal Bridges was probably the most aggressive I've seen him in any other half of the season. He was taking it to every single player that was on him at times. I believe at certain points, Lonzo Ball was at him at times. I know Lonzo was on Jalen Brunson at times. And at that point, Jalen Brunson was cooking him. He was taking it to Lonzo Ball, and he was making sure he let him know, you can't guard me. I'm going to go inside. I'm going to penetrate. I'm going to create, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you know you're going to have to throw another defender on me. And eventually, Chicago did that, and they started double teaming Brunson, throwing triple teams at Brunson, especially when he was in the paint. They forced him to move the ball. And when they moved the ball to Karl-Anthony Towns or they moved the ball to Mikal Bridges, we also got great offense. We also got a great deal of ball movement as well, too. In the first half, I thought the ball movement was very good by the Knicks. They were moving themselves, moving the ball, cutting inside, and getting whatever they wanted as long as they were communicating and pushing that ball inside. A lot of times, I felt like when they stopped doing that, especially in that second half, where they tried to go a little bit more isolation heavy, you saw the lead go away at that point. Because when you stop moving the ball and you're allowing the Bulls to attack you inside, do whatever they want to do inside, and then Kobe White basically goes unguarded from the three-point line at times. You give him that much confidence. Of course, he's going to make all of the other baskets that you give him because you gave him all that confidence. He is shooting with so heavy confidence now because he thinks he can't miss, that every time he touches the ball, he is torching us. He is going off on us. We saw it all game long, and the Knicks had no answer. We could not stop it. No matter how good our offense was, our defense could never get a stop. And even when we tried to make it run, and in that fourth quarter, I believe we got it back down to 8 or 9 points, it didn't matter because it took one play, campaign. It just takes one campaign play. He leaves his defender. We see Zach LaVine go in. He gets fouled, and boom, it's a challenge. They go to the basket over there. They go to the replay. They make sure that they understand that it goes the other way, and it shifts the momentum. Instead of the Knicks getting a 5-point play, because Landry Shamet, if you guys remember, hit that 3-point shot. It would have been a 5-point game at that point in time. But because Payne, for some reason, fell back into his defender, it went the other way. Zach LaVine attacks inside. It goes back to 11 points, 14 points, and the Knicks can never get back into the game. We try our best to push this game forward as much as we could. But at that point, when you're down so many points and you're trying to fight back and claw back into the game, what do you think is going to happen? You're tired at that point. You're not utilizing your bench, even though Tom Thibodeau, I will admit, utilized his bench a little bit more this game than he did yesterday. I would definitely give him that. I can give him credit there. But even though that's the case, you still saw the Knicks were tired. That back-to-back hit them without question. And we saw it in that fourth quarter when they could not answer anything the Bulls were doing, and they were missing open shots. We were missing open three-point shots. We were missing shots inside as well, too, because we just did not have the lift in our legs. We were tired. The great Mike Breen on the call said it best. The Knicks have tired legs, and you can see that. If he's acknowledging that, and I'm acknowledging that, then I think it's fair for everybody to criticize a little bit of what we saw. But unfortunately for the Knicks, they did not have it tonight. We dropped tonight's game, and we could not get it done. And as we see here, 139 to 126, New York drops this game to the Chicago Bulls. And it was a heartbreaker because, again, the Knicks were leading at halftime. We had, I believe, an 8 or 9 point lead at the half. New York was able to keep that lead because they were able to pass the ball, they were able to move themselves, and they were cutting inside. We have to remember that. We saw that a lot of times as well, too. Give me a second, guys, because I have to drink a little bit of water here. All right, guys, I apologize about that. Just had to drink a little bit of water there because I was screaming at my TV all game long. But let's break this down a little bit here. As you see here, quarter-to-quarter breakdown, the Knicks won that first quarter 33 to 29. Then after that, we see here the Bulls and the Knicks go back and forth, but the Knicks still score 39 points in that second quarter to the Bulls 34. And Kobe White was one of the main reasons why they closed that second quarter so strong. Because the Knicks, believe it or not, if you were looking at the 5-minute mark, the Knicks were dominating that second quarter. It really wasn't until closing that second quarter that the Bulls started making it a run and they started to close the gap on the Knicks lead. And then boom. I mean, you guys see it right there, right? I don't even have to call it out. 41-17. 41-17 points scored in the third quarter. The Bulls basically hold us to 17 points, and the Knicks allow the Bulls to score 41 points. Have we lost our mind? And a lot of that, do you know how that happened? A lot of that was because we were missing shots, we were turning the ball over, and if we were getting the rebounds, sometimes we were missing those rebounds, or it would be long rebounds. The Bulls would get them, and they would push the ball up in transition. They were always pushing the ball up. And if they didn't have a clear shot inside the paint, they were passing to a cutter or passing to an open three-point shooter. A lot of times, it was to an open three-point shooter. And the person taking that shot was either Vooch, who was wide open, or Kobe White, wide open, or Zach LaVine, who could really not be stopped tonight. He was going off. During certain points, he was catching the ball, and it was very good defense, but just better offense. He was scoring on the Knicks at will at times, even at three. A couple of dribbles, pull up three, and he still hits it. Guys, that's talent. That's offensive talent. You can do your best to defend against it, and you can do your best to, you can do your best to try to defend against it. But at the end of the day, sometimes it's better offense against sometimes very good defense. And we saw that a lot of times tonight. The Knicks put a lot of coverage on Zach LaVine tonight. We saw Mikal Bridges on him. We saw OG Anunoby on him. We saw Josh Hart on him. It didn't matter. Every defender that he had on him, he cooked them in any individual way. In some way, he was able to cook that matchup and still get his basket to go in, or still get to the line, or still bother New York. Even though OG Anunoby, I thought at times, played very good defense on him, it wasn't consistent enough because he was still able to get him off the dribble. It's hard to get Zach LaVine at times because he is such a good talent. He is an all-star for a reason because he can go off that way. And we saw him do it tonight. But his penetration game, the way he was able to get other players involved, specifically Kobe White, what they were able to do together. And then Nikolai Vucevic, he was able to get inside, create inside, and also attack from the outside. The Knicks had no response for that. And when the Knicks were trying to go on their run and trying to make their run on offense, we saw it done by Karl-Anthony Towns, at times by Jalen Brunson, but the ball movement completely stopped. The ball movement was non-existent at times. We saw it in the first half. Everybody was touching it. The second half, non-existent, stagnant. Jalen Brunson shoots it. Mikal Bridges goes inside the paint. He gets one pass. He shoots it. Karl-Anthony Towns, the exact same thing. What happened to the ball movement? If the Knicks stop moving the ball, stop moving themselves, stop cutting, what do you think is going to happen? We're going to lose games like this. But allowing the Bulls to score 41 points in the third quarter and we only score 17, disgusting, unacceptable. This is just, I don't even have words for it. They were attacking inside at will with no response. And in the fourth quarter, I felt like we just gave up. We were giving up the game. They were attacking, no resistance. Zach LaVine attacking, going around defenders, shooting around defenders, no resistance. And that is unacceptable. If you're out there, if you're playing in the game, you need to give some type of offense. You need to give some type of defense. You have to actually try, because if you're not doing at least that, then what are you out there for? What are you playing for? And Tom Thibodeau needs to realize that. And if he sees that, makes the smart substitution. Get other players in this game because we sorely need it, especially if we're tired. And as we saw there in the fourth quarter, even the Knicks tried to come back. Karl-Anthony Towns tried to do everything that he could. 44 points, 7 of 10 from the free throw line, 17 of 29 from the field for Karl-Anthony Towns. Tried to help the Knicks so badly stay in that game in the fourth quarter. 37-35, but it didn't matter. New York still dropped this game 139-126. Zach LaVine, Kobe White, Nikolai Vucevic, the Knicks not playing great defense and allowing the Bulls to attack inside, get wide open threes, and no resistance on those threes at all. That was the nail in our coffin and allowed the Bulls to win this game. Now the Knicks have lost 2 straight games. I just can't believe I'm saying that. Losing against OKC was one thing, but losing against one of the worst teams in the league, in the Chicago Bulls, they don't even play really good defense. They just woke up against the Knicks. Like most teams in the league, when they play against New York, they step up their game. They wake up a little bit more. They try a little bit more. They have more effort on defense, and we saw that. We saw that in the third quarter. We saw that in the fourth quarter. Unacceptable. We can talk about some of the good plays, though, because even though we lost the game, even though the defense was just atrocious in some parts of this game, we can talk about some of the great play and the great numbers that we saw from Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson. I wish I could brag more. I wish I could talk about them more. I wish I could say this is their game where they showed why they could be an all-star duo this year. But I can't talk about that because in a loss, why does it matter? Why does anything like that matter in a loss? It doesn't matter to me, and I'm sure it doesn't matter to them. But let's go over what we saw here tonight. Karl-Anthony Towns in a loss, 44 points, 16 boards, and he had 5 assists, 17 of 29 from the field. Jalen Brunson, 33 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, 55% shot from the field, but the Knicks still lost to the Bulls by 13. I mean, if this doesn't tell you that offense alone doesn't win games, then I don't know what else will. The Knicks and their all-stars basically went off tonight. Jalen Brunson gave you 26 points in the first half. And then Karl-Anthony Towns gave you 44 points, basically scored all of that 44, 22 plus of them in that second half. He gave you all of that and then some. We gave you the offense that you can expect from a duo like Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns. We still lost the game because offense is not enough. You cannot only win with offense. You need to utilize your bench. You need to utilize your depth. And you also need to play defense. You need to give effort. You need to try. And if you're allowing the Bulls to run inside, penetrate and create, get wide open threes, make sure they're getting an open cutter, cutting inside because they're drawing 2 defenders when they're going inside the paint. It's just going to be a cakewalk for them. And that's exactly what it was when you give up 41 points in the third quarter. How else do you explain that? You can't. There's no other way. Shout out to the chat gang. We're going to go to Yuri, who gave us a super chat. I appreciate you. Yuri with the $2 super chat. Shout out to you, my guy. Not for nothing. If I read that, Cat is injured. Are you telling me there's an update now? Are you telling me there's an update where all right, I'm looking at my phone. Shout out to you, by the way, for the super chat. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for being a member and, of course, a moderator of the channel. I got to look at the injury report now because now I'm scared. Please don't tell me Karl-Anthony Towns is on that injury report. Please don't tell me that's exactly what the update's saying right now. What does it say? What does it say? Okay, it doesn't say anything yet. Don't scare me like that. Do not scare me like that. I'm already a little bit nervous. So please don't scare me like that. With Karl-Anthony Towns, like we talked about already, he went down with that injury. We basically broke it down to start off the stream. We talked about exactly what happened to him, what happened to his knee, how he was limping off to the locker room. And I promise you, we're going to get back into this. We're going to talk about it a little bit more. But before we do that, we have to talk about the numbers again. Because again, they're not going to be talked about a lot. Karl-Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson putting up all-star numbers as an all-star duo, but being overshadowed because we lost the Bulls by 13 because we could not play defense when we needed to play defense. This is a game where the Knicks absolutely should have won this game. This is a game against a Bulls team, which is one of the worst teams in the league, and we allowed them to score 41 in the third quarter to beat us that badly and to destroy everything we were trying to build and create in those first 3 quarters. And we just could not stop what they were trying to do. 41 points allowed to the Chicago Bulls. Terrible. One of the worst defensive quarters, one of the worst defensive games I've seen the Knicks play all season long. Not all year long, all season long. But of course, you can make a case for the worst defensive game of 2025. This was terrible. I cannot believe what I saw the Knicks allow tonight, and I just don't know what to say. The Knicks put up all-star numbers, but we can't stop them from shooting the three. We can't stop them from penetrating and creating. We can't stop them inside. And we have all of these great performances from Jalen, from Mikal, from OG, from Karl-Anthony Towns, and we can't talk about any of it. None of it. Because we lost by 13 to Chicago. Let's break down the minutes breakdown here. Talk about what the starters did, what the bench did, and obviously get to the team stats like we normally do here. Mikal Bridges tonight, 33 minutes. OG Anunoby, 32 minutes. Towns, 37 minutes before going down with injury. Brunson, 33 minutes. Josh Hart, 40 minutes. And again, this is on a back-to-back, ladies and gentlemen. Precious Achiuwa, 27 minutes played. Very good tonight. I'm glad I saw Achiuwa play more minutes tonight because we know we didn't see him play that last night. Jacob Toppin, Matt Ryan, and Jericho Sims, and Tyler Kolek all get garbage time 2 minutes. Yes, I said garbage time 2 minutes because it's important to say garbage time. It's not real time. It's important to differentiate here. Landry Shamet, 17 minutes. Campaign, 14 minutes. A lot better this game than before. And obviously, Miles McBride did not play because he's still dealing with that mysterious hamstring injury that's kept him out 2 games. And we don't know what his status is going to be for Monday. But it doesn't look like it's going to keep him out for too long. So that's a little bit of good news there. We're going to try to break that down in another video that we drop on the channel, hopefully tomorrow or the next day after. But let's talk about the minutes and excuse me, not the minutes, but the breakdown here. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the minutes again. As we see here with the minutes breakdown with the starters. I mean, listen, I think we can say pretty fairly the minutes tonight, it was better. He managed them a little bit better, but we still played an 8-man rotation. I would have liked to see Tyler Kolek get some run. We knew Deuce was not going to get any minutes. So if you know that's the case, and you know normally Deuce is going to play, then why not play Tyler Kolek? Why not give him some legitimate burn, some legitimate minutes? Give him 12 minutes, 13 minutes. I think he's earned that. I think he's earned that in the absence of Deuce McBride because you still need to experiment how the minutes are going to look like when you play 9 actively. If you're not trying to do that now, then that means you're going to try to do it on the fly when you get these players back. And that's not the right way to do it. You need to experiment right now. That's what the regular season is built for. Kolek in this game could have handled some of the playmaking, maybe help move the ball a little bit more, which is exactly what we needed in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter. We cannot just rely on Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns to pass the ball. It's just crazy to think that. If you want more ball movement and you're not getting it, for me, it makes sense to put in a player that excels in ball movement. And if you don't have Deuce, it gives you the excuse to play him at least 7 to 10 minutes. I'm not saying it would have been a game changer, but those are adjustments that I would like to see because you clearly see a need on the floor. You have a player that can address it, and you don't do anything. You don't do anything. You do nothing. And you saw the team was gassed, especially in the fourth. You saw that team was tired. Why not put the bench out there a little bit more until they're rested long enough so that way they can come in the game and have a bigger impact? Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Isn't that how you're supposed to read the game, understand what's going on, and then make the adjustment, the in-game adjustment? Isn't that part of the coach's job? I'm not trying to kill Tom Thibodeau here. I'm not trying to say it's his fault only. It's a lot of factors here. But isn't that one of the factors, ladies and gentlemen? I think it is. I would agree that it is. But we can break down what Mikal Bridges did tonight, because I think we should do that. We should break down how Mikal did another great game, because we wasted a good game by Mikal. 33 minutes, 8 of 18, not as efficient tonight, but still a very good game. He had 18 points, 1 assist, but he played very good defense tonight as well, too. So I have to give him credit for that. Not great from three-point land, 0 of 5 from there. But you know what? That's a little bit of an anomaly, because Mikal Bridges normally is very good from three, especially over the course of this December run into January. So I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass, but I also think Mikal Bridges could have been a little bit more efficient in terms of picking his shots. I thought he rushed a lot of his three-point shots in the corner. He was not set for a lot of those shots. Honestly, I'm not sure why Mikal was doing that a lot of the games. He had a lot of time to set and be a better three-point shooter than he was tonight, but he was rushing some of those shots. Again, not sure why that was happening, but it was something that we saw, and it's something that I have to acknowledge. Another player that I have to acknowledge, because he did really well, was Precious Achiuwa. 27 minutes, he gave you 5 points and 5 rebounds. Now, you look at the box score and you think to yourself, that's not great, right? But the level of defense that he played, how he played inside, what he was able to do, when he was able to put that fear in opposing players, alter their shots. You're not going to see that on the box score, but he was able to give you that play. That explains why he was playing 27 minutes, because when he was out there, he was giving you impact. So I have to give Precious Achiuwa some credit there. But I also have to talk about the glaring issues the Knicks have right now. Ladies and gentlemen, last night the Knicks shot 28% from three. Now, I can't lie. I didn't think it could get worse. Didn't think it could get worse from that. And the Knicks have been shooting the three ball extremely poorly over the last, 5 to 6 games. It's a trend. Look it up. It's a trend. And now tonight, New York shoots 26.7% from three. In comparison, we allow the Bulls to shoot 54.1% from three. New York shoots 49.5% from the field. Again, we shoot pretty well from the field overall, like we did last night against OKC, but the Bulls shoot 54.3% from the field. You want to know why this is concerning? Because it's almost identical to what Oklahoma City shot last night. They shot almost identical from three from what they shot from the field. And now tonight with the Bulls, they shot almost nearly identical what they shot from the field from three. We have a problem. We have a problem defensively. And if allowing OKC, allowing Chicago, allowing certain teams who are not great three-point shooting teams to shoot the three ball extremely well, if those games are not enough evidence that the Knicks have bad perimeter defense and we need to improve it, I don't know what else is going to convince you. If the fast break points, which we're going to get to, don't convince you that the Knicks transition defense is a problem, I don't know how else I'm going to convince you. But we've covered the three-point percentage of opposing players and opposing teams each and every postgame for maybe the last 10 games now. And it's all starting to look eerily similar. It's all starting to look like this. We have a problem. We have a big problem. 13 turnovers even for the Knicks and the Bulls, and rebounds. Yeah, the Knicks won the rebounding war 49-43, but it doesn't matter when you win rebounds when the Bulls shoot 54% from three and you shoot 26% from three. It's not going to matter because clearly they're not rebounding. They're shooting way more threes than you and hitting them at a higher rate than you. And that was the game right there. And we saw that on full display in that third quarter. Let's take a look at that full stat breakdown here. And we're also going to take a look at the shot chart. You know what? Before we take a look at those two things, let's go to the chat, gang. See what you guys have to say. Get your take on tonight's game, and then we're going to go to those two stats because I do want to get to you guys and see what you guys have to talk about with tonight's game. And if you have things to say about Tom Thibodeau or the team or the loss or anything like that. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Lex the Destroyer. So many lineups can be made with this roster, but Thibs only has two. He does only has two, doesn't he? And as we saw here, I mean, we can take a look here. We can see what the Knicks are doing here, right? I mean, Mikal, OG Towns, Jalen Hart, Achua, Payne, and Shamet. That's your 8. Now, I would make the argument, if I'm down 2 players, that would likely make up a 10-man rotation for me, and that's likely the rotation I'm going to implement at some point, then I'm going to play 2 extra players. I'm going to play 2 additional players with this roster right now because it makes sense to do that because eventually I'm going to have players return and I'm going to need to make that adjustment anyways. Tyler Kolek should have got some minutes tonight. Not sure why he didn't. It doesn't make sense to me, honestly. You're missing Deuce. Why not play him a couple more minutes? It just helps the starters even more. And you know they're tied on a back-to-back. Doesn't make sense to me. Joseph says, coach is not the issue. The cat trade left us. Well, hold up. We script past there. Read that again. Left this on the bench and no leeway with the cap. Another trade is Mitchell Robinson for Jonas Valanciunas and the pick back to Washington. You acquire a center and a cap. Joseph, looks like you have been watching my channel. That's exactly what I dropped the video on, I believe, a couple of days ago. Shout out to you. I'm not thinking the Knicks are going to do that right now. They might do that if they think it's going to be forced. But as of right now, I don't see it happening at this point in time. But very good comment, though. I appreciate you. Yuri, my guy, moderator and member, he says, my take is that I'm against the fire Thibs narrative. He changed the franchise along with Leon. Do we have any other better coaches out there? Nah, give me Thibs any day of the week. So a lot of people wanted to hear my thoughts on this with Tom Thibodeau. Do I want him fired? I don't want him fired because I remember the years without Tom Thibodeau and how they looked. And there's no coach right now that can coach this team better. I don't think you can make an argument with me that there's a better coach. Now, there might be a better coach available if he's fired that could be in the Western Conference. I'm not going to put any names out there quite yet. Mike Malone. But, I mean, that could happen. And if it does happen that way and he becomes available, then maybe I want the Knicks to look in that direction. But as of right now, there's no name to look at. There's not one name I can even think about that I want the Knicks to go after because it wouldn't make sense. Tom Thibodeau has taken this team as far as I've ever seen them go. But it is something to say, though. You don't have to say fire Thibs to also say, Thibs, what are you doing with the minutes? Thibs, why are we not doing this? Thibs, why did the defense look like this? I think it's perfectly fine to question and challenge Thibs without having to say fire Thibs or create that narrative because challenging him and saying you don't want him, 2 different things. Because challenging him, that's a basketball thing. Basketball logic dictates why you challenge him. I challenge him because I look at I look at the starters being gassed and I look at the bench not being used and they don't compute. It doesn't make sense. So I challenge it. Difference there. Very key difference. But shout out to you guys. Dovid says, yes, Thibs changed the culture. He is still crazy, but he can still coach the Knicks better than anyone else. But he got to improve the minutes for the players, mainly on the bench. Couldn't have said it better myself, Dovid. I appreciate you. It's clear you are watching and listening and tuning into the show each and every day because that sounds like me talking right there. I appreciate you, my guy. Lex the Destroyer. We have been saying that to Thibs for years, and he says, fire Thibs. Again, this is what the community is saying. A lot of people want to see Tom Thibodeau fired. Do you agree? Do you agree with Lex the Destroyer? Maybe you're watching the playback. If you are, leave a comment. If you're in the live chat or you're a subscriber and you're waiting for the 5-minute barrier to go away so you can leave your comment, then think about it right now. Do you think Tom Thibodeau should be fired as a Knicks head coach? Leave a comment below and let me know. In my opinion, I don't think it's that time yet. We just came off of a 9-game win streak. Guys, we gotta relax just a little bit. I don't like it either. You know I don't like it. I drop a number of videos every single day telling you I don't like it. But again, there's a difference between challenging and saying I don't want anymore. Very big difference. Keep that in mind. Chris Goodwin says, guys, do you want a title or just be a playoff team? Thibs has to go. Ooh. Gangstar says, Mike Brown is worse than Thibs. Yeah, I don't want Mike Brown, man. Please stop that take. Please stop that narrative. I don't want him. I don't want him at all. I know a lot of people think he might do a better job than Thibs. I think that's our imagination. We want that to be true. It may not actually be reality. Just saying. Michael Slow says, why didn't we draft an NBA-ready player instead of Dadier? I think we did that was because of the money. We wanted to make sure we had enough money to give him. And he was going to take less money being a rookie. And we would be able to use that in terms of our favor with the cap to do whatever we wanted to do. So I think that's why we did the moves that we did. It had to do with the fact that he was likely going to take a little bit less, and he was okay with that. I'm sure that had to do with it, but shout out to you. All right, 2 more comments, and then we're going to go right to the team stats and talk about where the Knicks really lost this game. And it's clear when you look at the team stats. Lupa says, I would have kind of liked Jalen Duren. I mean, sign me up too. I dropped the video today about Jalen Duren. I want him. And again, everybody is saying to watch Detroit at the trade deadline. So I'm going to keep an eye on Detroit. I don't know what that means. I don't know what they're going to do, but I'm definitely going to keep an eye on anything that they're going to be making available in terms of players. Isaac says, is Mike Malone even available? If he is, who would we even replace Thibs with? Or if he isn't, who would we even replace Thibs with? He's not available. I wouldn't replace Tom Thibodeau with anybody because there's nobody else. I know a lot of people think Monty Williams is a name. A lot of people want Monty Williams as the next coach of the Knicks. I don't really want Monty. I've seen what he did with Phoenix, Detroit. Honestly, that Detroit tenure left a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't really want him on this Knicks franchise. Tom Thibodeau, in my opinion, has gotten this team as far as any coach I've seen before him. I have been here throughout the years of coaches, back and forth coaches, each and every year getting rid of a coach. This is the first time in a while the Knicks have had consistency at the head coach position. So, I mean, for me, because I remember how bad it was, I don't really want to go back to that without a plan. So I don't want to fire Thibs unless you're giving me a better coach. Give me a better coach. Name me a better coach I can get, and maybe I'll join you there. But until somebody can do that, there's no point in talking about it because there is no better coach for the Knicks right now. Nobody can name one. And if you do, it's all hypothetical. You're guessing. You don't know for sure. You want it to be true. I'm just saying what it is. And you know I'm not a fan. You know me. You saw all the videos that I drop. I keep it real 100%. I talk both sides, but this is really what it is. And I know a lot of you guys understand that. Issa says, why do you think Thibs isn't... Oh, well, I skipped right away. I went really fast. Issa says, why do you think Thibs isn't utilizing the bench? We always talk about the what, but do you think... but hold on. What do you think is the why? Excuse me. Got caught up in your words there. We always talk about the what, but what do you think is the why? Well, shout out to you. I appreciate the comment. That's going to be the comment that we stop this portion of the live chat with. We're going to cover the team the team stats, and then we're going to jump right back into the game and talk about basically everything that happened and talk about your takes. But going back to the take that we just heard there from Issa, why does Tom Thibodeau not utilize his bench? We always break down basically the what. What is he doing wrong? But why? Why is he not doing this? I think we talk about it a lot, actually. I think it boils down to trust. I mean, when you look at the bench, let's take a look at it, right? Sorry about that. Let's take a look at the bench there. I don't know what happened there with the screen. Always does that for some reason. Sorry about that. There we go. Sorry about that. My goodness. All right. So if you take a look at the minutes breakdown here, when it comes down to the rookies, Jacob Toppin, well, he's not really a rookie, but he just doesn't have enough time. He doesn't have enough NBA ready level experience, is what I mean by that. So not enough experience with Jacob Toppin. Then you got Jericho Sims, and he's already out of the rotation. Tyler Kolek, and then Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, G Leaguer, likely not going to get enough time. Tyler Kolek, I don't know why he's not getting enough time, but for me, it's likely because he's a rookie. And then when it comes to Sims, Sims is out of the rotation. Sims is not going to get any more burn because he is out of the rotation. That's the main reason why. And I think because Tom Thibodeau wants to develop that chemistry, wants to fast track it, he's playing 8 players significantly and waiting for other players to come back. And he feels, maybe, again, this is my thoughts on your question here on why Tom Thibodeau is not utilizing the bench. I think it's because the trust level that he has in the other players there are not as high as they are in Landry Shamet, in Cam Payne, in Deuce McBride, in Mitchell Robinson when he returns, in Precious Achiuwa. And because of that, he does not want to utilize his bench. And that's why we're stuck at where we are. That's why he's not utilizing his bench. And that's why we continue to wait to get healthy to potentially get him to utilize more players that return. That's why we're all waiting for Robinson to come back, because we want to see what happens to the minutes distribution. We got another super chat that I want to call out, and that's from Westchester Lester. Shout out to you, my guy. $2 super chat. Really appreciate you. He says, Pacome is a 6'9 defender. Thibs is just dumb, simple. 100% is the emoji he's giving us here. Well, shout out to you. Shout out to your comment there. And I do agree that at certain points during the game, I would have liked to see the rookie Pacome Dadier enter the game, especially when we saw a lot of tired legs. And if we saw OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, and Mikal Bridges, maybe you need a little bit of a rest. Why not put the rookie in for 5 to 7 minutes, 10 minutes? We already seen he can play great defense. He can give you a corner 3 if he's open. Why not give the kid a couple of minutes? But for me, I'm not as mad with Pacome as I am with Kolek, because I thought that Kolek could have definitely gotten some minutes tonight, given that Deuce McBride was out. If you knew McBride was out and Kolek is not being sent to the G League and he's still part of the team, why not utilize him off the bench so he can actually have an impact? Tonight was the perfect time to utilize him, even for, I don't know, 10, 11 minutes. I don't know. For me, Tom Thibodeau has to build up a trust for you, and that trust is not built in 1 year. He has to have you as part of his roster for at least 1 year and have to have experience with you and your skill set and how he can use you. And once that happens, then after that time, if you're still part of the team, he'll start to incorporate you in the lineup if you have a decent impact. But I think that's just how Tom Thibodeau is. And that's why he utilizes the bench that exact way. But I appreciate your comment. But let's go back into the team stats and see exactly how the Knicks lost this game against Chicago. Because when you break it down, it becomes very clear. Let's take a look at the team assist here. And also, we're going to take a look at the fouls as well. And we're going to take a look at the free throw percentage and the three-point percentage, because it's pretty clear. So team assist here, 27 to 36. Now, 27 assists, way better in terms of the amount of team assists that we did last night against Oklahoma City, 22 to 27. However, when the Knicks are shooting 26.7% from 3, and the Bulls are moving the ball 36 times as a team and shooting the ball 54.1% from the field, you're likely losing this game. And that's what happened there. But look at the fast break points there. Chicago met the Knicks 18 to 20. Chicago is one of the worst teams in the league, but we know they like to run, and we let them run against us. We could not shut them down. Points in the paint. Even though the Knicks won that battle, 72 points to 56, the main reason for that is because the Bulls were open from 3. So, of course, they're not going to shoot a lot of points in the paint. Why would they shoot a lot of points in the paint? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to shoot a lot of points in the paint if you're open from three, if you're getting wide open looks. If Kobe White has nobody near him, why are you going to run into the paint into active defenders? You're going to take the easy shot, the better shot. And we saw them do that all night long. And the team stats break that down so easily. You can see it so clearly. 54.1% from three, 36 team assists for them. In terms of fast break points, they almost tied us at 18 points to 20. And then their largest lead, 19 to 11. They got to the line 18 times. The Knicks got to the line 28 times, but we lost 6 points at the free throw line. We gave up those points. The Bulls were near perfect from the free throw line. So that's also something to look at. But let's look at the shot chart. Just take a look at the shot chart and everything that we saw here. Look at the Knicks and the amount of threes. The Knicks put up 30 threes. We only made 8 of them. The Bulls put up 37 threes. They made 20 of them. And they made all of them basically at the top. Their corner threes never went in, basically. But the top of the key threes, they went in. Scoring inside the paint, penetration and create, that happened. The Knicks, again, another game, another heavy, just missing so many shots game. Look at the empty circles. Heavy empty circles in that shot chart for New York. Look at the amount of threes we missed. Look at the amount of open bunnies we missed inside. Open shots we missed inside. Of course, New York is not going to be able to get past them. If you're missing shots, you're not passing the ball enough. And then they're meeting you at fast break points, and they're one of the worst teams in the league. And you're allowing them to dominate, to have open threes like this, to get whatever they want to get in terms of points inside the paint. You're going to lose the game. New York lost this game because they allowed the Bulls to score whatever they wanted to do in the paint at the three-point line, and the shot chart shows you that perfectly. It shows you that exactly. The threes open inside the paint, a lot of them open, or cutters open, and the Knicks, no response. And that was game. The third quarter, 41-17, that was blowing open the game, and that also took the game out of reach. And even though the Knicks tried their best, Karl-Anthony Towns tried his best in that fourth quarter, did what he needed to do and tried to put did what he needed to do and tried to put the Knicks on his back, scoring 40 plus for us. But it was not enough because offense cannot be enough. Only offense and limited defense cannot win games. You need to have both. And if your players are tired on a back-to-back, you're not playing an aggressive level of defense, and your two players are giving you great offense, but the other opposing team is getting wide open threes and you're not making your threes, it doesn't matter how good your stars look. You're going to lose the game because threes are always worth more than twos. And the Bulls on the three-point line tonight, 54% to the Knicks 26%. That was the game right there. That was open and close the game right there. Take away that third quarter, include that third quarter, the Knicks not being able to close out anything they were trying to do. Knicks dropped this game against Chicago. An embarrassing, disgusting game to watch. If you watch this game from start to finish, not only were you disappointed, you were also disgusted, not only by the effort, but because you lost to the Bulls. We lost to the Chicago Bulls, one of the worst teams in the league, when we were up by halftime. And we did it because we allowed them to shoot open three after open three after open three with no answer. And they continue to attack inside with no answer. You're not beating any team, let alone one of the worst teams in the league like the Bulls like that. You have to give more commitment on defense. You have to give more effort out there, but you also have to move the ball better. You also have to move the ball better. You have to move yourself better. You have to cut more. You have to stop the isolation play, and you have to make sure you're playing team ball. When you go away from that, you're going to lose. The Knicks went away from that. The Bulls didn't, and they dominated. And the Knicks had no answer. We could not come back, and that was the game. That's really it for the post game. I wish I had more to say on the matter, but really, when you break down all the stats like that and we talk about the game the way it is, we know what happened. A very, very scary injury to Karl-Anthony Towns, as well as a dominant performance, but a performance that we can't even talk about. We can't even enjoy because we lost to Chicago by 13, one of the worst teams in the league. And I'm still shaking my head against that. But without further ado, guys, let's jump into the main chat here. See what you guys have to say. Break down your takes before we completely end the show tonight. And honestly, guys, I might do a couple of your takes before I close out because really, I'm just so disappointed. Just so heavily disappointed. Let me get some water here. Okay. Wisdom Man says, the 5 should be the rim protector and tenacious rebounder. Knicks need and provide the defense to clean up. This will move Josh Hart to the bench to provide a spark plug. I'm not sure what Wisdom Man has said, but I'm assuming he's suggesting we move Josh Hart to the bench after we trade for somebody or do something of that nature. It depends on the player that we get. I'm not opposed to it. But Josh Hart is a walking triple-double. I don't know if I want to put a walking triple-double on the bench. Not saying he can't average a triple-double off the bench as well, too, because I think he's very capable of doing that. And sometimes it doesn't matter if you start. It really matters if you finish, because Tom Thibodeau's closing lineup gets a lot of minutes, and Josh Hart is almost always going to be part of that lineup, whether he closes or not. But that's a very good observation and good question there. Excuse me. Ski says, well said, Troy. Target. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate the comment. Westchester Lesser says, Pacome, young leg, 6'9", can defend. Start him for defense. He's not going to start. The best you're going to get is him coming off the bench. And even that, I don't think that's going to happen unless OG is going to miss time or Mikal Bridges is going to miss time. If that's not happening, he's not likely going to see any time. That's just my read on the situation because that's what we've seen in the past already. So I don't think that's going to really change at this point. Excuse me. I'll take another drink of water here. Mike Saunders says, I thought y'all wanted to trade Mitch. I think a lot of people still want to trade Mitch. I don't think that's changed, especially given the fact right now, the Knicks and their bench, the depth that we have, the lack of our depth, the fact that Tom Thibodeau won't play more than 8, we need to be able to address that. We need to find a way for Tom Thibodeau to play 9 or more players. I would love to see a 10-man rotation. 5 players that Tom Thibodeau trusts off the bench and 5 starters. And the starters playing 35 minutes only and the bench getting the rest of those minutes. Because if that happens, I feel like the Knicks will win more games than they're going to lose. But it's going to be growing pains because in order to create that, you're going to have to lose a couple of games. Excuse me. Now, I don't want the Knicks to lose games. I would rather the Knicks win every game. But in growing pains, when you utilize the bench, and if the bench is losing or losing the lead, sometimes as a coach, you want to call a timeout and insert the starters. But if you allow the bench to learn, kind of like how you allowed the starters to learn, then that might help develop the bench, their chemistry, and then in the future, that's how you're going to win more games. But again, it's growing pains, and I don't know if Tom Thibodeau likes to grow that way. He likes to win games and put players that he trusts in games, and that's how he likes to operate. We've seen it time and time again. Let's see here. Excuse me, my goodness. Take another drink of water here. Cardiac Nick says, Thibs coaches like every game is like it's a freaking playoff game. Thibs just doesn't get that the regular season is just a long battle and not a war. Maybe you are right, but the regular season is a test as well too. And he needs to understand, he needs to utilize the regular season to experiment. That's part of it. That's part of it all as well too. If you're not going to experiment and you're going to only do that in the postseason, you might lose the important games versus some of these games, which are important as well too, but not as critical as these postseason games. We all know that to be the case. Excuse me. David says, until they improve their team, 3-ball shooting, and of course, the overall defense, the Knicks got to find different ways to win. Then eventually make the rotation 9 to 10 man, no less. Westchester Lester. Bench don't learn under Thibs. He's trash. Maybe you're right. I can understand why you think that, but he still has to play them. We still have to see how it looks like. We need to understand what the bench looks like if they're playing heavy minutes, significant minutes. Tom Thibodeau needs to let them play through their mistakes. He's not doing that right now, and we need to see that happen a little bit more. Citizen X says, yep, like we said, Thibs plays roster into the ground. I mean, when we look at the numbers here tonight, he played the bench a little bit more. We can agree with that, right? 27 for Achua, 14 for Payne, and Landry Shamet had 17. So he did play the minutes a little bit more, distribute them a little bit better, but again, still an 8-man rotation, not a 10-man rotation, and the Knicks did look tired in that fourth quarter. Back-to-back, playing heavy minutes again. It wasn't the same heavy minutes they played last night, but it was still 30-plus minutes after last night of playing 40-plus minutes. So that's a lot of time to be on your feet and playing aggressive basketball. They're attacking a lot. They're playing a great level of defense. And also the Bulls, they're pushing them. They're attacking. And they're also playing great defense. Like I said to start the show, the Bulls, they woke up and they knew they were playing the Knicks. So they knew that, and they were playing great defense on us. They had a great stretch. They were stealing the ball, causing turnovers, forcing a lot of missed shots, and they were running the ball up, pushing the ball up, getting inside, and the transition buckets for them, whether it was a three or attacking inside or a cutter inside, it was just always an impactful play that got that place erupting and made that team believe that they can beat us. And once the team believed they can beat us, it's really hard to break their spirit. And we couldn't do that. In the fourth quarter, they knew that, and they were running away with the game. Even though we were trying to fight back, they were fighting back just alongside us because they had the confidence. Mike Saunders says, Cam Whitmore plays terrible defense, and Cam Whitmore is not going to be available. I promise you that. Carl Knight says, do you think it's realistic for the Knicks to steal Cam Whitmore for the Rockets? No, not realistic. Not at all. Cam Whitmore is going to stay with the Rockets. And I believe the Rockets just had another major injury happen. So I definitely think they're going to keep Cam Whitmore now. There's no reason to move him. And even if they did, the Knicks don't have the package to get him. If he's made available, there's going to be a number of contending teams that have better packages than the Knicks. I promise you that. There's no way New York's going to be able to get him. We can shut the book on that right now. There's no point in talking about it. All right, let's see here. Last comment from Westchester Lester. Leon Rose paying Kolek for what? Thibs must not be on the same page as the front office. He also follows that up by saying Leon Rose gets Thibs a young wing defender in Pacome Dadier, but Thibs don't use him. Are the Knicks front office on the same page? Very, very, very good comments to close out. So that's exactly how I'm going to do that. First of all, shout out to everybody who joined the post-game show, everybody who watched, invested their time, and waited to see what we were talking about tonight with Karl-Anthony Towns, with his injury, and everything that was happening tonight. But I want to close out with Tom Thibodeau and that question that Lester was talking about here. He basically said, Leon Rose gets a young wing, Pacome Dadier, for Tom Thibodeau, doesn't play him. Tyler Kolek doesn't play him. Is an issue with our players on the bench, with Tom Thibodeau? Is he on the same page with the front office? Let me say this. From everything that I've heard, Tom Thibodeau and the front office are together. Nearly on everything that they make comments on, or they make questions on, or they have opinions on. They are together. They're not talking about things against each other anymore. If the Knicks are making a move, Tom Thibodeau was likely consulted. So I do think they're on the same page. Even a couple of days ago, Tom Thibodeau was quoted as stating he loves Tyler Kolek. So if he loves him, I don't see him being traded or any Tom Thibodeau hate toward him. But we have a super chat to get to, and I want to go to that. Citizens X says with a $5 super chat, so I got to give him a shout out to that. Excuse me. I got to give him a shout out to that. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate your comment. Thibs needs to understand what load management actually is. I vote no. Can we win a title under Thibs? That is a very good question, and I appreciate that question. I wanted to end with Lester, so let me answer his question, and then because you gave your super chat, Citizen, I'll go with your super chat to end the show. So I appreciate you, my guy. 1 second here. Okay. Going back to Lester's comment, though, the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau are on the same page. I do believe there are no issues with the front office and him, and I do believe he has a lot of love and respect for Dadier and for Kolek, but he's just in his ways in terms of the way he plays players. In their first year, they're not going to see significant time unless it's forced or it's situational. If next year comes and they're still on the team, which I believe they will be, I think Tom Thibodeau will play them a lot of minutes, but we're going to have to wait and see that. But shout out to Citizen X for giving us that great $5 super chat and helping us end the show with another question. And his question is, can we win a title under Tom Thibodeau? He votes no to that. If you ask me, I think we can if Tom Thibodeau makes the right adjustments. He has to make the right plays, and he has to make sure he's putting the roster out there that we need depending on who we're playing against. Those adjustments are always going to be key. Now, sometimes he makes those adjustments. Now, sometimes they're wrong adjustments, but they're made. But oftentimes, we don't see any adjustment. We see the same starting five put out there. We see the same starting five put out there after halftime. We're not seeing any adjustments happen there. And even sometimes with our bench, maybe they're having a great game or very, very hot on the three-point line or going inside when they're driving. And Tom Thibodeau will not put them in the game. He'll ride the starters until maybe the 4-minute mark or 3rd-minute mark, and then he'll throw in the bench at times. Now, tonight, we got a little bit of a surprise because Tom Thibodeau went to his bench a little bit earlier than expected. Now, if he does that more often in the next couple of games, maybe the Knicks will be able to develop a bench that we can trust. But he has to be able to expand the minutes across 9 to 10 players. Because if we're able to go 10 deep with this roster, able to make the starters play 35 minutes or under that and give the rest of the minutes to the bench, we are going to be a very good team, a better team than we are right now. And we're not going to have tired legs as an excuse because our bench will be able to give the Knicks the rest that we need. And that's exactly why you create a bench, you utilize a bench, and you develop a bench. And that's exactly what I want to see Tom Thibodeau do. But tonight's game against the Chicago Bulls, the defense that we were playing, what we allowed them to shoot from three, shoot from the field, shoot inside the paint, letting them get whatever they want, giving them that level of confidence and not being able to have a response back. And then that avalanche in the third quarter where they score 41 points to our 17, that was the end of the game. We had no answer during that third. We could not do anything against them. We did our best in the fourth quarter to try to come back and close it all up, but it didn't matter at that point in time because when you allow a team to score 41 points in one quarter and you put yourself in a hole like that, no matter how much you try to no matter how much you try to crawl out of it, you're always still in a hole. And that can be very debilitating, especially when you see the other team respond back, score 6 or 7 points straight, and then you're right back in that hole. It just defeats you, defeats that type of energy that you have and that feeling that you're going to win the game. And I think we saw that from the Knicks to close it out. New York has to get it together. We have to wake up. Our defense needs to get better. Our consistency needs to get better. Our utilization of the bench needs to get better, but we also need to get healthier. Once we get Deuce back, once we get Mitchell Robinson back, Tom Thibodeau will have 5 players on the bench that he trusts and that he can use. At that point, maybe we go 10 deep and we're playing 10 players at that point. 5 bench players and 5 starters. Only time will tell to see if Tom Thibodeau goes in that direction. But as of right now, he needs to make that adjustment. Even if it's not the starters or the bench that he wants right now, or it's not the bench that he would really want to have in the game, or even if Tom Thibodeau doesn't have the bench players that he wants, the bench players that he trusts right now, I still think that he needs to utilize at least some of the players off the bench that we can throw into the game that will have an impact. That way, we can see what it looks like with a 10-man rotation until eventually, once we get healthier, we see what that rotation looks like. It's basically preparation for the future. I wish Tom Thibodeau saw it that way, but it's clear he doesn't. And when he plays an 8-man rotation like this, when we're down in a game against Chicago, when we clearly look tired, he's never going to expand that rotation until we get healthier. And basically, that's what I'm waiting for right now. Once we get healthy, to see how the minutes are managed, see what Tom Thibodeau does, and see what type of Knicks team we have at that point in time. But what about you guys? What did you think about tonight's game against the Chicago Bulls? What did you like about tonight's game? What did you not like about tonight's game? Were there some things during tonight's game that I didn't talk about that you wanted me to speak about? Let me know in the comment section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans, take care of yourself, your families, and each other. Peace and love.